Yeah, a lot going on. An exciting week. And I think, Christy, everyone was tired from serving in VBS is why, they took the day off because of some comp time, maybe, something going in that. Hey, we're diving into the book of Exodus today. The theme is mountains. That goes with our recreation series, just some different themes within the Bible that are bringing in the spirit of being recreated as we think about the Creator and as we think about all of creation. And isn't it crazy how that happens? That really creation draws us or awakens something, calls something from within us, calls something out of us about our Creator. I was closing last service with this thought of whether it's a starry sky, whether it's the crashing waves of the ocean, whether it's a mountain range off in the distance, there's just something that happens inside of us that awakens and calls and creates ache in us for something more than what we are. One of the things that the sky does to me is I feel so small, but I feel like I matter, which that's like a paradox, right? Like if the universe is that big, who am I? But I feel like loved by a God somehow in that moment. That's the power of creation, and that's really the heart of this whole summer around City Life, is putting us in spaces that awaken something inside of us. Mountains is the theme. My first thought was, Moses received the 10 Commandments on a mountain. Let's check out that mountain. That's Exodus 20. Got reading that a minute, and I was like, well, that actually all starts in Exodus 19. Let me go to that. And that is really where this whole message, this whole kind of story came alive. It's kind of a hinge point or a turning point in Exodus and kind of the story of God and how he moves in us and how he moves in his people. And there's a real pattern. There's almost like you could call it an Exodus way that is made evident in chapter 19, that you got to read Exodus cover to cover, but you see this reality. And it's an out, say out, through, up, and into. Yeah, there's a way about that. There's an out, there's a through, there's a up, and there's an into. Think of what you know about the book of Exodus. Think of Prince of Egypt and Moses and the Ten Commandment movie. Maybe that's where you're pulling information about this from. But yeah, out of Egypt, right? That's the story. It's out of Egypt, out of slavery and bondage. God's people being far from where and who they were meant to be because how they were being treated, what happened to them in their life and in the world, in their story, that they needed a coming out. They needed to come up out of where they were. Anybody got a hand saying amen to that? Because you might need to be, and maybe you're in a place where you need to come out of because of slavery and bondage and being held back from who you were meant to be, being owned by something other than or by someone other than God, your creator, your maker, whose image you're made in. There's an out in the way of Exodus. There's a through. What'd they go through? Hard times, unbearable times, hardships, but that was all in the desert. They had to go through the desert, through the wilderness, being set free from slavery, but they got out and it was hard and they had to go through some things as God formed and as God shaped them, right? That's what happens in the desert. That's what happens in the wilderness. Pastor Christy was talking about that in the last couple of weeks. We're being formed. We're being shaped. We're learning how to trust God and not go back to slavery, not go back to bondage. Stay free, keep living for the freedom, and go after that life that we know we were created for. Anybody going through something? Yeah, wilderness, desert. Not fun, but do not go back. Press in, press on. What we really need is to go up. And that was where we really find ourselves in Exodus 19, is at the base of a mountain that we need to go up because God is waiting and wanting to meet with us so that we can ultimately go into the promised land, into his full presence, into knowing what the kingdom is and what the kingdom is all about and how that rains down in our life. And it has everything that we ache for from the inside out is waiting for us there. It's where we're trying to get, whether we use bad practices of our own demise and of this world, or whether we follow what God has for us. It's where we're trying to get. You only get there, though, through an out, through a through a up, and through an into way that Exodus unpacks for us. Had a good friend who recently had a mountain that he had to go up. This is a little mountain, as it would be, which is kind of cool, and just the timing of all this kind of journey that my friend has been on is a mountain that he had to go up. About 10 days ago, kind of just in general message prep, found his story being tracked on Facebook, and this is kind of what his story is about this mountain he has to go up. See if you can identify with this, and if there isn't something in you that is about this, a mountain that you must go up, or something about this Exodus way coming at us. So the first post I saw, again, 10 days ago, this is the image. This is what he wrote. These mountains have an emotional pull on me. They are part of the Sangre de Cristos west of West Cliff, Colorado. About 15 years ago and 140 pounds ago, he was weighing about 360 to 370 pounds, some of his later posts said. Our family came out here on vacation. It was one of the first trips we took that wasn't just visiting parents. We fell in love with the mountains. One day we decided to hike the Comanche Trail, but we barely made it a mile. I couldn't breathe, and my legs were screaming. A few years later, we tried the Venable Trail, which is from the same trailhead, but I failed again. For years, I kept a poster of the Sangre de Cristos in my office. Someday, I told myself, I'd climb these mountains. I thought about it a lot, but I never did anything about it. When I moved offices, the poster got misplaced and the dream got shelved with it. Last October, on my 59th birthday, I find myself thinking about the season of life I'm in. I wondered if I should have a bucket list. I would like to visit Hawaii, maybe the Grand Canyon or the Redwoods. These are all doable things. Save some money, plan a trip. I can do it. But way down in my soul, I knew what I actually needed to do. I needed to hike the Venable Comanche Loop, and I needed to do it before I turned 60. Since that day, I've hiked hundreds of miles. I bought the gear, studied the training, kept at it, and on August 8th, which happened to be yesterday, my daughter Rebecca and I are hiking the Comanche Venable Loop. This will be a physical and mental challenge. The hike includes the Phantom Terrace, which will test every fear of heights I have. I've worked hard to get ready. I think I'm ready. If I fall and fail, not fall from the mountain, that would be bad, I'll come back next year one way or another. I'm doing this. I'll put a few links up and let you track and follow it, right? He has a mountain to go up, and it's more than a day. It's more than a hike. It's his story, isn't it? And it's touching in and tapping in and pressing in on his out and his through and his up and his in and kind of waging war, right? For the last 15 years, he's lived under this weight of wanting to do something, wanting to be someone, right? It's more than just that challenge. It represented everything about who he is, who he wants to be as a husband, as a dad. The picture of his family's involved in this. This is the first time they're vacationing, they're breaking into this season, and there's something inside of him questioning it all and kind of feeling unable to have capacity to rise, to do what aches within him, to be that man, to be that person, and come into it. It is the whole Exodus story is at play in him and in us if we're awake, in us if we're paying attention. This is how the journey went then. It actually played out over the course of the day yesterday. Our family had a zoo day. We were over at Binder Park Zoo in Battle Creek, and I was just tracking on my phone. Oh, I wonder how he's doing. And some of these updates were coming. Here's his post. This would have been Friday then, before he started. This next image. Tomorrow morning, I'm attempting the Venerable Comanche Loop in the Sangre de Cristos. Plans changed this week, though. Rebecca, my hiking partner and daughter, got sick, and her doctor told her she shouldn't climb this weekend. Oh, really? Welcome to the wilderness. Already a setback, right? So tomorrow, I'm going alone. So if the trail starts to feel unsafe, I'll turn around. Rebecca and I can attempt this together in late September if I fall short. Thanks to everyone who has encouraged me and has prayed for me this last year. I'd be grateful for your prayers tomorrow that I hike safe and that whatever is supposed to happen happens. I love you guys. Don't you love our Facebook communities, how we invite people in to be on the journey of life, the journey that God has us on, the becoming who and becoming how he calls us to be, to live that story, his redemptive story in this world. That was day before. Here comes day of. A pretty slow start. Hiking before the sun came up. It was slow but easy. Never got out of zone 2. Good morning to everyone. Zone 2 is probably biomedics. He's watching his heart rate, not wanting to push too hard, but needing to get going. Next post, here comes the sun. Through the woods. That looks wilderness-ish, right? I'm thinking, not mountaintop, right? Post 5, morning progress, slow but steady. Okay, now there's some hope is entering the story, right? Post 6, the first clear look at the goal. And isn't life like that, right? You're set free, you know you're supposed to do something, you've committed and you've stepped out, but it's so hard and you lose sight, or you can lose sight of what you're even going for, but he presses in and gets the glimpse of what he is really going after. I can't imagine how refreshing that would be. I think as we're looking at these pictures, they represent so much more than just the image and a snapshot of a quick picture. This is his life. He's fighting for his life going up this mountain. Post 7, he makes it to the first Venerable Lake. The crest is now visible. And then his next shot. It's been a slow and steady day, but I made it to the top of the trail and am headed back. I should mention that I'm wearing this amazing bracelet that my granddaughter made me as I hiked today. It is a reminder of how blessed I am. No matter what happens today, the Lord has been good to me. Again, the depth to which and the meaning that this journey has. And then here's like the finished shot. This is, I think, about probably the highest point he was up, and he was looking down. And what was amazing is he posted at about 10 o'clock last night a video recapping the whole thing and what it was really all about. And what was crazy is he was saying on the video that the whole time he was filled with self-doubt. And he was beating himself up that during the whole journey that he was on, going up his hill, doing what God had called him to, being in that space. He was saying, these thoughts of, it's taken 15 years. He had thoughts of maybe this wasn't actually that hard. What is wrong? Why did that take so much? All that happening, which is kind of unbelievable until you look at yourself in the mirror and think how frequently we do that same thing. We pound ourselves back towards slavery, or at least back towards wilderness living that's just not good at all. It's short of where we're supposed to be up the mountain. But what he said the Lord gave to him at the top of this was right in this moment from this shot. That's the Venerable Lake. that was just in the shot that he's looking down at. And on the first climb, that's where they were trying to go. And he said, at that moment, God said to him, he's like, what are you talking about? Look at where I've brought you. I have you up looking down on a place you couldn't even get to on your own or before you really came after me. Right? Isn't that crazy? That's like in the book of Psalms somewhere, right? The Lord has taken you to a place where before you could not even get to, and you're looking down at that place you could not even get to. That is our God. That is the way. That is the Exodus way. That is God's way when we are willing to come out and be set free and go through the hard in the wilderness to the base of the mountain and to go through with the climb up to encounter God, and how hard that is and how crazy that is. But that gets us to the place that we can never get ourselves as we look back. This is the story of Israel in Exodus. This is the story of Israel in Exodus 19 as it sits at base camp at the base of the mountain that God is already up on and wanting to encounter and to meet them. It's a out, it's a through, it's ready to go up, and God. And this is how it goes. We've got a God that wants to meet with us. That's the heart. You need to know that. This is the theology of it, who God is. He wants to meet with us. He wants to speak with us. He wants a special relationship with us. He sets boundaries and conditions for the relationship that he's created for us to be in, and then he invites us into that relationship so that we can experience him and the presence of him in his kingdom in our lives, so that we live for him and that we live his way, that we live making him known and knowing him more and more in our lives as we live for him and his kingdom and his kingdom's sake. Never was my friend more alive, or as we talk about it here at City Life, more in the kingdom and having the kingdom manifested so that you experience all this than at that top looking down, knowing God had met him there. That's what's happening and getting ready to happen to Israel right now. So let's walk through that 5 kind of moments that show this heart of God and what this story is all about. Exodus 19, verses 1 and 2. In the 3rd month of the same day of the month that the Israelites had left the land of Egypt, they came to the wilderness of Sinai. After they had set out from Rephidim, they entered the wilderness of Sinai, and Israel camped there in front of the mountain. Everything I've been talking about is kind of in those 2 verses. That's Israel. Who's Israel? Israel's God's people. Those are his people. That's us today as we're living for him. That's who Israel is. And you got to kind of know that, because that's our story. We're a part of this story from creation to fall to flood to the Tower of Babel and the dispersing and the breaking up to the promise of Abraham. And then Abraham comes Isaac. Isaac comes Jacob. Jacob is Israel. Jacob is Israel because Jacob wrestled with God through this story of out and through and up and in, right? And Jacob is Israel, and Jacob has Joseph, who Joseph goes to Egypt. Israel becomes enslaved and is kept in bondage until they're set free to come to the promised land. Right? That's in verse 1. There's a little bit there, right? That's who Israel is. They left Egypt. They're through the wilderness. This is 2 months in to being set free. Anybody made it 2 months in your freedom from the bondage? Anybody not make it 2 months? They made it 2 months, a lot of grumbling, a lot of complaining, but a lot of God showing up in that space and they're at the base camp. And ultimately what God is wanting us to know and them to know is that he wants to meet with them. He's for us. He's always about his redemptive will taking place in our lives. God is not mean. God is not heavy-handed and wants to bring things down on us. We don't need to hide from him. He wants and asks for us to come out of bondage. When we do, he's done something that made that possible because he cares and he's compassionate and he has mercy and he, surfaces justice. He's forming and shaping us through the wilderness desert to bring us along to know to trust him so that we don't turn back, to show that he always provides. His promises are always good if we hang with him. And he's calling us to this mountain where he wants to encounter us. He wants to meet us up. He kind of has set the stage. He used Moses to go back to Egypt to bring them to here so he could meet with him. At the mountain, God wants to meet with us. That's an intimidating thought, though, right? You ready to meet your maker is another way of saying that. That has a different vibe, but it's the same. It's the same. We should want to, and we should be concerned, but want to. Verse 3 goes on. Then Moses went up to God, and the Lord called to him from the mountain. This is what you are to tell the house of Jacob and explain to the sons of Israel. You have seen for yourselves what I did to Egypt, and how I carried you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. Now, if you will indeed obey my voice and keep my covenant, you will be my treasured possession out of all of the nations, for the whole earth is mine. And unto me you shall be a kingdom of priests, a holy nation. These are the words that you are to speak to Israel. And this is God not knowing that we probably couldn't take him at that time, so he's using Moses to tell them this. This is who I am. I'm full of compassion and mercy and grace, and I'm into restoring and rebuilding and recovering them to who they're supposed to be and who they're meant to be. That is what I'm acting on. They're my chosen. At the mountain, God has something to say to us, that we're his chosen people, that he has a purpose for us. We matter. We aren't garbage. He chooses you because you're his holy people. We're his holy people. We're his plan A. And at the mountain, he says that to us. My friend going up the mountain, he was realizing that through the terrain and through the challenge. He was remembering 15 years of not being able to do this and all that it took. These are the kinds of things that drive you, and really that you have to believe this or you're going to go back. This is the identity to hold on to. This is our God. He wants to meet with us, and he wants to speak this into our lives for us, to call us. Verse 7. So Moses went back, and he summoned the elders to tell them this, and the elders of the people to set before them all these words that the Lord had commanded him. And all the people answered together, we will do everything that the Lord has spoken. So Moses brought their words back to the Lord then. They're in. They want this. The Lord said to Moses, behold, I will come to you in a dense cloud then, so that the people will hear when I speak to you, and they will always put their trust in you. And Moses relayed to the Lord what the people had said, and then the Lord said to Moses, go to the people then and consecrate them today, ready them for tomorrow. They must wash their clothes and be prepared by the third day, for on that third day the Lord will come down on Mount Sinai in the sight of all the people. God wants this special relationship with us. He invites us to commit into this relationship, to be set apart, to identify with that identity that we're not who the world says we were. We're not who those lies, that the bondage, that what that all pulls us into, we're not that. And he wants us to go, well, sorry, I've got to share this. It's just in my head. But, I'm picturing the Beast in Beauty and the Beast going down to Belle, and he's going to show Belle that he is the Beast, but I think he's talking to the candlestick and the clock about being nervous about her not understanding because he's beastly, but he's loving and compassionate, and they're made to be together. Disney princess movies, when aren't they amazing? But I feel like that's this interaction, and God is going to Moses and tell them, but you tell them, and I want you to tell them this, but I'm worried about them being able to handle it. I'm worried about them being able to receive this, so you tell them, but I'll shake things up crazy so that they know it's me. I want them to know it's me, but they can't see me. Only you can see me and understand exactly what I'm saying, but they got to believe you because their whole life depends on it. My whole story for them and all of creation depends on it, so it's got to happen. God wants this special relationship, invites us in. It's a set apart, it's a holy thing. It's a live different, live free calling. Verse 12, and you are to then set apart and set up, a boundary for the people around the mountain and tell them, be careful. Be careful not to go up the mountain or touch its base. Whoever touches the mountain shall surely be put to death. No hand shall touch him, but he shall surely be stoned or shot with arrows, whether man or beast. He must not live. Only when the ram's horn sounds a long blast may they approach the mountain. When Moses came down from the mountain to the people, he consecrated them and washed their clothes. Be prepared, for on the third day he's coming. He said to the people, don't draw near to women. Point 4, or this fourth moment at the mountain, God sets up these boundaries and these conditions for our relationship. It's called a covenant relationship. There's parts. It's not just like God does all this for us and then we just receive it. There's a part we got to play. There's desire, there's hunger, there's thirst within us that has to be a part of the story. And God is setting up these boundaries and these conditions initially before he even gets into the law that he's going to establish, the directions for the tabernacle that he's going to describe that are all about his presence continuing to be with us. But it's like this introductory of how important it is to get this right. Like to carefully live out the life that God has for us. Because if you break it, it gets broke. If you break it, you get broke and you get real broke. And it's really hard to then come out of it and hard to go through things and then hard to come up if the breaking happens. So this is like a plea of God. It sounds like, oh, there's rules now. Oh, I get it. Now there's things we can't do. They're for you. They are for you to prevent you from ruining you and destroying yourself. It's like that. It's like he wants us to be careful to obey everything. Full obedience, full surrender. Not our own, not a little. He wants intimacy and respect. It takes both. He's got all this affection built up in him, but he's the all-powerful God of the whole universe. Don't think he's your homeboy or your dashboard Jesus or little bracelet. He's with me. Really? He wants intimacy and respect, and that's got to be in it together. His ways are so much beyond our ways, his thoughts beyond our thoughts. How in the world does he even know us or care about us? But he does. And he still, though, is higher and bigger and more powerful. Verse 16, on the third day, when morning came, there was thunder and lightning. A thick cloud was upon the mountain, and a very loud blast from the ram's horn went out. So all the people in the camp trembled, because here he comes down the mountain, this presence of God, this power of God coming towards them. Then Moses brought the people out of the camp to meet with God, and they stood at the foot of the mountain. Mount Sinai was completely enveloped in smoke because the Lord had descended on it in fire, and the smoke rose like the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mountain quaked violently. And as the sound of the ram's horn grew louder and louder, Moses spoke, and God answered him in the thunder. And this is God meeting with them. This is him coming down. This is them coming out. And this is the encounter that he set up. He wants to meet with us, to be able to say things to us so that we can have the relationship and be invited into it and to understand it. That's all happening right here. We're being invited into the relationship where we can experience him and his presence in our life, where we can live for him and live his way. And he wants this holy reverence, and he wants this pursuit of everything in our lives and everything about our lives. That's what he's after, this holy fear where we just fully trust. And it is so many of, we use the word maybe daunting. If it's a God thing so many times in our life that he's calling us into, or he's calling us up for this encounter, and we know what a big deal it is, it's daunting. Because we know, I think whether we are aware, why is it daunting? Or is it because of like a punitive God that is going to be mean? You know, that it sounds little childish stuff, but so many of us carry around a bad, wrong picture of God. It's daunting because everything's weighing on it. Like your whole life is weighing on you standing in that presence of his power so that you can receive his affection, so that you can receive the grace, the mercy, the compassion that he has for you. We make that sound easy. We make that sound, it is simple because that's all you got to do, but that is not easy. That is daunting. But it's this reverence and it's this pursuit of that we then stand in it, and then God comes on us in a moment and he says something like, see, I got you. You are above and you're looking down at somewhere you could not even get on your own. Out of Egypt, through the wilderness, up a mountain, into the promised land. That's what God is always up to in our lives. And whatever phase we're wrestling with the most, that's where he's at. Some of us have not come out of bondage yet, and we're dealing with, it's rough. We're dealing with an identity. Something else owns us. Something else is defining us, something we can't get free from. Addiction, abuse, shame can be that bitterness that you've held on to because of a wrong, that you've been wronged, but you haven't dealt with that right. You haven't offered forgiveness yet, and you're the one enslaved by it. Fear, materialism, these other more social, cultural approval. You just need their approval, so you'll do anything, and they own you. You're on a leash. You don't even see it. Destructive relationships, compulsive behavior, those can own us. We can't get free from them. The wilderness, freedom's harder than I thought. I might just go back. No, recovery is hard. Dealing with grief is hard, but don't go back. Loneliness is hard, but don't go back. Unemployment is hard, but don't bankrupt a life or a relationship or your character because of that. Rebuilding trust is hard. You want it right away because you said sorry, but it takes years to get it back. The mountain, this holy place where God is near, it's hard, it's daunting. You got to be willing to stand up in it to go up the mountain. There's a holy God. It takes conviction, worship, surrender. It is choosing, in some sense, it's choosing crisis. You can either get on your knees and declare that you're in crisis, because you are. Look at the person next to you. Let them know that. You are currently in crisis, whether you're aware of it or not. Yeah, you are, but that's what worship, that's what being up the mountain is like. I get that. That's why I'm here. I'm on my knees because I know I need God to get to where I can't get and be on my own. And that land, life belongs to God and exists for his purpose, this promised land. We know that, and we're in it a lot, but it's not, we got to stay there more. We need more around our lives. Heightened reconciliation. There's a new layer of the onion to deal with. Stability, you got to turn to this generosity picture and realize I'm in a place I can make a difference. Other concerns and things that come out with that picture. So, 2 application lines of thinking today. One is just this obvious, where are you at and what needs to be at the center? Are you in an out moment where you need help out? Get help out. We've got some cool stuff going on in that, I've used the word bondage space here at City Life, and some of the life groups things and some of the conversations happen. If it's bondage, if you feel owned by something other than God, and it's defining you, and it's whipping post is what often happens, you got to get out of that. And that's not wilderness problems. That's a bondage problem. Or is it a wilderness problem? You're free, but you don't know how you want to turn back. That's probably that quickest way to know if you want this turn back because you're free. That's wilderness space, and you can get help. There's help. There's someone sitting next to you that you can unpack this kind of story with, and they can help you, and that can help in and of itself. Is that where you're at? Or is it this mountain, that you're at the mountain and you need to go up? Go. Have someone march with you. Let it be your daughter, Rebecca, who commits. It's funny that she didn't go, but I bet he doesn't get there if she wasn't going to go until he got there. And then he goes up. Some of us just need to go up and make higher commitments to the devotion, to the careful boundaries that God has set for us so that we live alive and not apart. And then, that's where are you in that? And where do you need help? Get help. That's kind of our internal application. And the external that helps in every single one of these is a church-focused, because the passage is church-focused. Israel's the church. We're Israel today. We are God's people. And us living like this and us living like this together is everything. The only way we can do that is to do that and be these kind of people. And the things we do around here, who else hates announcements? I hate announcements at church. Do you guys hate church announcements? Okay, guess I'm the only one being honest. Because often it just sounds like, what do they want us to sign up for now? What's the QR code going to make us do? And, my needy thing. No, that's not it at all. Everything we talk about is for us. And it's for this Exodus way, and so that each of us can know where we are at on the journey and that we can keep moving. And God can be alive in our lives. So these things, committing to worship, be here every Sunday. Why would you miss? Why would you not be here on a Sunday and come with excitement and seriousness? Because every Sunday this is possible. A touching on and a visiting of the Exodus way and where we're at in a recommitment. Exodus 19, you could almost look at as the first church service where people got together in front of God, at the base of the mountain to go up it and worship, to have a time at the altar, to cry out and consecrate ourselves so that we can be holy as he calls us to be holy, and then hear from his word that is instruction of the careful way that we should follow and be serious about in our lives, and then we would encourage each other as we do that. That's an every Sunday thing. Not in our culture. You are our regular church attender if you attend 3 out of 8 Sundays in a row. That's horrible. Nobody's going anywhere. Maybe at best you'll stay in the wilderness, but my money would be, we'll all be in bondage and slavery. Come every week. Number 2, commit to serve. Here's a cool opportunity. Church announcement. Take the 3-week I Am City Life class starting next week and join a ministry team. For real. Get around some people. Do some things. Practice, exercise some of the things you're learning about obedience and sacrifice and what God's up to. Showing up weekly and finding a place to serve, especially that you're wired for and you're purposed for. When Andrea and I, the church we planted in Lowell, Impact, we called it Equipped for Impact, was what I Am City Life is all about. And it was amazing to see the life change that would happen because people would realize, like 24/7, you can be doing what God created you to do. Or you can at least connect it to making the life that you were called to lead possible. Like everything. Take I Am City Life the next 3 weeks. Find a ministry team to serve in. Number 3, commit to community. That's what we're talking about when we say life group, when we say bands or accountability in your life, is commit to community, letting others into your story, letting others into your Exodus story and way so that you don't do it alone. Life groups, bands, they help with that. This fall when we always do life groups, does anyone go like, oh, what's this life group thing? Oh, it's fall. Why are we doing life? We do it every year. We do fall life groups to create space of community so that we can do this not alone but together. And then lastly, giving is a part of the story. Everything, all in, out of obedience, out of sacrifice, out of gratitude that we give. Financially is the easiest part, really, because everything else is the rest. Yeah. How about I pray then as we close here? And we just thank you, God, for your word that is all about you and how you really are. It's all about your way and what that is really like. I'm thankful for the honesty of your word